What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It's time to continue our 2023 schedule preview / projected records for the 2023 college football season. We continue them with the Duke Blue Devils. Here was a schedule last year for the Duke Blue Devils. One of the most surprised teams from the 2022 college football season. We did not expect Duke to be a really big surprise team this year. Of course, they went 8-4 in the regular season, and then 9-4 in the 2022 season. So Duke, obviously, a team that we kind of doubted. In the season, we thought they would be one of the worst ACC teams in the country last year, and all of college football as well. But you look at the schedule, you look at who they played in the non-conference. They played Temple, Northwestern on the road, North Carolina A&T, and then, of course, they played that game on the road at Kansas. Now, they did end up losing to Kansas there on September the 24th. That was a great game there. But you look at the games that they played there on that schedule, they had a pretty good season. That's all we can say about it. Duke basically had a pretty good season. They lost to North Carolina here on October the 15th. That's a game they probably could have won. If they would have probably won this game, Duke probably would have been 9-3 last year, maybe even possible 10-3, but all in all, a pretty good season for Duke last year. Will this be the case this year for this Duke team? Was this just a Duke team that really surprised us, or will this be the same Duke team that we saw a couple years ago? Let's go to the schedule now for 2023. Here's that schedule for Duke heading into 2023. And you look at who they'll play in the non-conference. They'll play Lafayette. And then on September the 16th, they'll play Northwestern. And then they'll play UConn here on the road, and then Notre Dame. So, all in all, the non-conference schedule, a little bit tougher than it was last year. They have to play Northwestern, UConn, and Notre Dame. We'll start with Northwestern first. Obviously, one of the worst Big Ten teams from last year, but I think they're going to be overall, maybe much better perhaps, but as of right now, we don't know what they're going to look like. UConn on the road, another one of those surprise teams from last year. That will be an interesting game there in the non-conference. UConn definitely made it to a bowl game last year, and then, of course, Notre Dame. That will be a tough one there on September the 30th. So, all in all, this non-conference schedule is a little bit tough for Duke, but, they still have to play almost every single ACC team on this schedule because, again, there are no divisions in the ACC this year, so let's go game by game now for Duke here. So they'll start the season off on Labor Day night, and that will be against Clemson here on September the 4th. This game will be on a Monday, I think, so yeah, this Clemson game is going to be really interesting. It's a home game for Duke, a game they could potentially win against. And then they'll play Lafayette after that on September the 9th. Then they'll play Northwestern at home here on September the 16th. Then they'll play UConn on the road on September 23rd. So you play your 3 straight non-conference games, or I should say 4 straight non-conference games here, including Notre Dame on September the 30th. So you kick off with Clemson here. And then, of course, you have the non-conference games here in the month of September. Then they'll get a bye week after playing Notre Dame. Then they'll play NC State here at home. That's a rival game. You never know what can happen. Then they'll play back-to-back road games here with Florida State and Louisville. Pretty tough back-to-back road games here for Duke. I mean, Florida State going to be a lot of hype for this team coming into 2023. You look at the production they have coming back, almost everybody coming back, and, of course, they brought in some transfers. Louisville, we don't know how good they're going to be, of course, with the new head coach, but they should still be overall a decent team this year. And then they'll play Wake Forest after that. No telling what Wake Forest is going to look like just yet. This is a team that, loses Sam Hartman in the transfer portal. We don't know how good they're going to be. And then Duke will play back-to-back road games here in the month of November. Then they'll play North Carolina here on the road. Then they'll play Virginia here on the road. North Carolina, that's a rival game. You never know what can happen. But, of course, Drake May coming back at quarterback. That would be huge for the Tar Heels. And it's kind of like a revenge game for Duke. Obviously, they lost at home last year. But this will be an interesting test here for Duke on the road. And then they'll play Virginia on the road. So, Virginia, a team last year that was not that good. But, this could still be an interesting road test for Duke. But, Virginia is a mess right now. Then they'll end things out here with Pittsburgh on November the 25th. So, schedule overall, pretty tough one for Duke. I mean, it's really not, it's really kind of a tougher schedule than it was last year. Of course, you still have to play every ACC team on this schedule. And then, of course, you got the non-conference games as well. So, It's a pretty tough schedule for Duke. Let's now get to the projection here for this Duke team. This is the scale I use for my projections. If it's a 1% game, these are games where Duke has no chance of winning in. 20% games in the orange, these are games where Duke is going to be a couple touchdowns of an underdog. 40% games in the yellow, these are games where Duke's going to be about a touchdown of an underdog, a heavy underdog in that game. Then 50-50 games, these will stay in the white. Games where they can go either way, 60% in the purple. These are games where Duke's going to be favored by about a touchdown. 80% in the blue. These are games where Duke's going to be favored by a couple touchdowns. And then the 90% games, these are games where Duke's going to be favored by more than 3 touchdowns. We always start with the green games here, on these projections. We're going to start with the easy wins here for Duke here. And I think you only got easy win there. Only one easy win on this schedule, and that's Lafayette here on September the 9th. This is the only game I see Duke winning by more than 3 touchdowns. So, yeah, I think Duke is really obviously a big favorite heading into that game on September the 9th. Let's go to games now in the blue, about 80% in the blue. These are games where Duke's going to be favored by a couple touchdowns. I think you got 2 of those on the schedule. You got Northwestern here at home and then UConn on the road. They played Northwestern last year in the non-conference. Obviously, they won that game on the road. And this time they will get this one at home. UConn, obviously, that probably could be in the purple. I'm going to stick with it and put it in the blue, though, just based off of where Duke was last year, winning those 9 games. But it could switch to a 50-50 game by the time we do those predictions, maybe a purple game as well. So I think as of right now, Duke, though, they will be favored in both of these games by a couple scores. We go to the games now in the purple, games where Duke's going to be favored by about a touchdown in the purple, about 60%. And I just got one game on that schedule. It's Virginia here on the road on November the 18th. I think you can clearly favor Duke in this game, even though it's a road game. I mean, I have to put it in the purple. And, Virginia obviously wasn't that good of a team last year, but this is an ACC matchup. That's why I got to put it here in the purple. And with no divisions, it makes it really tough, to project these kind of schedules in the ACC with all those, divisions now gone for the ACC. It's kind of easy for the SEC and, of course, the Big Ten. But, with all these other conferences, it's not really that easy to project. So, Duke, I think they will be favored in this one, though, against Virginia. Obviously, Virginia a mess right now, but this will be a road game, so I got to put it in the purple. All right, we go to the games where Duke's going to be an underdog in. We're going to start with the orange games here. I don't have any red games in the 1%, but I do have an orange game on here, and that's the Florida State game here on the road on October the 21st. I think this is a game that, could come down to the wire, but as of right now, with it being on the road in Florida State with the amount of production they have coming back, I'm going to put this one in the orange for Duke. I think this will be their toughest road test game on the year besides North Carolina and besides Louisville. I mean, as of right now, Florida State's really one of their toughest road games. They get Clemson and Notre Dame at home. That's the good news. They also get NC State at home. Louisville obviously is on the road, but I think that will be a game where they can potentially win in. But as of right now, I think this is an orange game here for Duke, but it could switch to a yellow game, maybe a 50-50 game by the time we do those predictions, like I said, in the month of May. But as of right now, I got Duke as a couple touchdowns of an underdog. We go to the games now in the yellow, games where they're going to be about 40% underdog, about a touchdown underdog. And I think you got 2 of those on the schedule, Clemson and Notre Dame, both at home. I think they do have a really good shot to knock off some of these teams here in the month of September. Yeah, you have to play both of them in the month of September. That is kind of brutal there based off of where they were last year. Clemson, we don't know how good they're going to be, with their new quarterback coming in. And then, of course, Notre Dame, we know that Sam Hartman is coming in with a lot of talent. But Notre Dame has to replace an offensive coordinator, so that's a huge loss there for this Notre Dame team. I think 2 of these games, I think Duke has a really good shot to win. I would probably call them a 50-50 game as of right now. But as of right now, I'm going to put these games in the yellow just based off of where these teams were last year. And like I said, this is just based off of where the teams were last year from the regular season. And I think the rest of the games here for Duke on the schedule, NC State, Louisville, Wake Forest, North Carolina, and Pittsburgh, I think all these 5 games are 50-50 games. NC State, that's a rival game. You never know what can happen. Louisville's on the road, but I think that's still a 50-50 game. Wake Forest, we don't know how good this team is going to be, but I'm going to still call this one as a 50-50 game. This is a game that I probably could have put in the purple, but I'm going to stick with it and put it in the white. North Carolina, same thing with NC State. That's a rival game. You never know what can happen. And then Pittsburgh here at home, that will be an interesting one there. Maybe a high-scoring game perhaps. So But as of right now, we don't know what these teams are going to look like. But how many games do I see Duke winning out of these 50-50 games? I probably see them winning 3 out of those 5 games on the schedule. They get NC State, Wake Forest, and Pittsburgh at home, so maybe they win all those 3 games there at home, and then they lose the road games to Louisville and North Carolina. But don't sleep on those yellow games. They could potentially beat Notre Dame and Clemson at home, but don't sleep on the purple game with Virginia and also the games in the blue. UConn will be an interesting one there on the road. But like I said, we'll see what these teams look like in the month of May, and we could switch those predictions around as well. But let's get to the projected record here for this Duke team. So not my official prediction. This is simply a projection based on this schedule. So if you look at the schedule, that the games that they're favored in and also the games that they are underdogs in, including those orange and yellow games and, of course, the 50-50 games, you get an overall projected record for this Duke team at 7-5 for 2023. Schedule is a little bit tougher. That's why I have them as a step back from a year ago. They went 8-4 in the regular season last year. I think this is kind of a step back for them, perhaps, but I think best case scenario would once again be 8-4. Worst case scenario would be probably 6-6. But if they go 6-6, I mean, it's not really that big of a disappointment. I mean, if they go 8-4 again, that would just be really, this Duke team is starting to look like a team in the ACC that could probably compete in. So, but as of right now, the overall projected record for this Duke team is at 7-5. Let me guys know what you think about this Duke team. What do you think their projected record will be? And what do you think their worst case scenario? What do you think their best case scenario is? Let me go down in the comments below. And stay tuned here for more sports content on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.